Welcome to the Osmo EarlyBird podcast. I'm your old pal EMAC coming to you with one Adam Ship My Money share as we break down Saturday's 8-game slate. No, make that a 7-game slate. I think there's an early game. We'll double check that. On a Friday night here, Adam and I are just kicking it. We've gone through the 8 o'clock lock games. We've got our lineups all set, and we're just waiting to see what happens with Kyle Kuzma. Adam, how are you doing tonight? Feeling frisky? Ready to go out and party in the new year, the new 2019?
Yeah, my last day being 28 too. So.
Yeah. I did not know that. So you're saying Saturday is the birthday?
Yeah.
You know, at Osmo, you get your birthdays off if you remember to tell somebody.
Yeah, it's cool. At least it's a Saturday, so I'll be off by 4 o'clock whenever I finish writing.
There you are. Yes, I'm validating that Saturday is a 7-game slate. There is that early one, Charlotte at Denver. I was getting excited and trying to figure out how Nikola Jokic was going to demolish Charlotte. Guess we'll have to do that in the single-game slates. But we've got a handful of teams on back-to-backs. We have Memphis is home on Friday night. They are on the road Saturday. Dallas and Utah are on the road both Friday and Saturday. And then Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Portland are at home on both Friday and Saturday. I've started to want to start calling out when people are traveling ahead or if it's a road game or a home game, specifically on these, because we're going to start to see, flu season, the rest, a variety of other stuff's going to come into play here. So if we just kind of point that out, it'll be somewhat helpful. So that's something I'm going to do on my shows going forward. Adam, we've got some intriguing games here. Of course, we have NFL. If you have not yet signed up for Yahoo, you can use the promo code OSMO and get a $30 deposit match up to your first $30 that will be received in Yahoo player points, and those are available for immediate use. They're running a $500,000 baller. It is a $20 entry, 10-entry max contest. I will be surprised if more than 40,000 people join that out of the 50,000 person pool, and that one should be kind of fun. They're not putting any management fees on it. So it'll be no matter what, they're going to pay out 500,000. I suspect they're going to get in about 400 or so thousand. So sorry, my math was off. It's going to get 80% full, not 40,000 entries. That would be if it was 10. So it'll be 20,000 entries is my guess. But should be a good one. We have a free article on the homepage of osmo.com detailing some plays in that one, so you can check that out as well. Adam, point guard position here. We've got a fun one. We've got some Steph Curry going against Sacramento. Will he be the latest to torch Sacramento? We've got New Orleans. What's going to go on there with Drew Holiday? We got Elf Payton back. They get that matchup with Cleveland, who's on a back-to-back. What is your first look telling you at your point guard pool?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a really, really nice matchup for Steph. The price tag's expensive, and it makes it so it's tough to trust him as, like a median projected play. But the upside's clearly there in a really fast-paced game between Golden State and Sacramento. Below that, you have, Ben Simmons against Dallas. Jimmy Butler missed practice on Friday, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. If he's out, you should see a little bit more from Ben Simmons. Dame Lillard in a reasonably appealing game against Houston, I think is fine. It really will just come down to lineup construction, how much money I have left over. But I think out of those three, it's pretty tough to go wrong.
All right, I should have hit the injuries. Thank you for pointing that out. Let me just quickly get us caught up on there. We've got David Nwaba, Matthew Dellavedova, both out on Friday night. They are both expected to be back on Saturday. We'll see. Nwaba's been out for a while with after re-injuring his ankle, and then Dellavedova's been out with a sprained foot. Justin Holiday is expected to be with his new team. That would be Memphis. Of course, they have to clear physicals, and there were other players involved in that trade going to Chicago, so you'll want to keep an eye on that. As Adam mentioned, Jimmy Butler was out the last game with illness, so we'll have to make sure he is in. Mike Conley and Ricky Rubio are both playing on Friday night. That they were coming into that game with injuries, that they are on back-to-back, so we'll want to keep an eye on that, make sure they don't re-aggravate anything. And then Wilson Chandler, questionable. He has been sick. I believe he missed the last game as well there for Philadelphia. And then Marvin Bagley is getting close to a return. He keeps popping up on the injury list, but he hasn't played yet. And they have not yet set a definitive date, but he has been dealing with sore knees or bruised knee. So you'll want to just keep an eye on that because that could change things a little bit with the Sacramento rotation. So my apologies for not hitting that one at the top. Back to point guards here, down kind of in the middle tier here, we have Kyle Anderson. The kids like to call him slow-mo because he has a very awkward way of moving, and it looks like he's running in slow motion. But he's going back against the former squad in San Antonio. We saw another player take on a former squad in San Antonio and have a good game. That would be DeMar DeRozan. Now we've got Kyle traveling there. Is he someone that you would be interested in at 4,900 on this DraftKings pricing? Eligible at point guard or small forward?
Yeah, he's still playing big minutes. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see if Justin Holiday is active for this game. I think that Holiday coming in could potentially knock Anderson back to 30 minutes a game instead of 35 or 36. But if he's going to continue getting 35 or 36, he just does enough when he's out there that he's a reasonable play. But it is worth noting that San Antonio has gotten much better defensively than they were earlier in the season. They still don't play at a fast pace. They've been one of the most efficient defenses, so it's not like it's a good spot for him.
And let's see, Memphis is coming in on a back-to-back, so that could help out San Antonio a little bit. Would you consider Derrick White or Bryn Forbes as early placeholder discount dandies from the Spurs?
Not really interested in either one. Derrick White obviously has been putting up good games lately, but it's been on the back of just unbelievably efficient shooting. It's not that he's become a bigger part of the offense in terms of shooting or in terms of peripherals. So in a really unappealing game against Memphis at a price tag that is rising, I don't have any interest in Derrick White. If people want to chase those points, they can go for it. Bryn Forbes, kind of the same thing. He's just not a high usage guy. It's a really unappealing matchup in terms of pace and opposing defense. So I think I'll just be able to find guys that I like more.
All right. I'm just checking here. I want to see if we have Kyle Lowry news. Let's see. This is updated. This is for, doubtful for Saturday's game. This is courtesy of Roto World. He's missed each of the last 5 games for Toronto and 9 of their last 10s. Even though it seemed like there was going to be a chance he was suiting up on Thursday, he was ruled out shortly after being upgraded to questionable. That leaves Fred VanVleet starting as the point guard. Reminder, check out my Twitter timeline for the Fred VanVleet fan club. I am the only one required to play him. You guys get a nice bonus because I don't advise playing Fred VanVleet for anybody at this point. He's been priced for Kyle Lowry being out for far too long and does not have that many dazzling games. Moving on down here to any of our other particular discount dandies, Austin Wright getting a ton of minutes here for Houston. You've got DeLon Wright. It's the reason I wanted to go look at Lowry. He is checking in at 3,300. That's an extreme discount price. Also an intriguing one, depending on who's in or out, TJ McConnell at 3,600. Now, a lot of these guys are extremely priced because there's various impediments in the way to them getting playing time. But of that trio, Rivers, Wright, and McConnell, anybody intrigue you at all?
I guess Rivers, just because the minutes are there. He does get some open 3-point looks playing alongside James Harden. He's playing huge minutes. It's still a last resort for me. But 4,900 on DraftKings in particular is still really unappealing also. So I guess more of a FanDuel play. On DraftKings, I'd rather go to TJ McConnell against Dallas. I just think that he's reasonably likely to give you 22, 23 fantasy points.
All right, on to the 2-guard here. We've got, let's see, 12,200 on DraftKings for James Harden. How are you feeling about that lofty price point against Portland?
He's still too cheap. I mean, there's just really no way around it. You can make whatever arguments you want for why James Harden isn't the best player in DFS right now. But the guy's playing, 39, 40 minutes a night without Paul and without Gordon. You're talking about close to a 44 or 45% usage rate, an assist percentage up near 60%, averaging around 1.8 fantasy points per minute. Yes, it's tough to get to him, especially, it depends on what value opens up, how easy it is to get there. But it's just he's just such a different player than anyone else right now. Yeah, he still can have a disappointing game at that price tag. There's no question. Like if he shoots really poorly and is below average in his peripherals, or if the game blows out or something like that, he can still disappoint. But he's going to project by far as the best, as the highest scorer on the slate. And the price tag, even though it's gone up, it's still just, I think, too cheap for how he compares to everyone else.
All right. While we are still talking at Harden, let's bring in Anthony Davis. Now, on DraftKings, Harden is $600 more expensive. However, on FanDuel, it is $13,100 for Davis, $13,000 even for Harden. And on Yahoo, they're both checking in at $58. That's the top end of the price sheets on those sites, actually all three sites. What is your thought game theory wise for Anthony Davis? Because there's no real price savings. I'd argue even on DraftKings, the $600 is not really that big of a deal. So essentially, they're equally priced across the board. The initial lean, of course, is to go to Harden because he has such a phenomenal opportunity. He doesn't seem to get hurt in game, et cetera. But Anthony Davis going against Cleveland on the road. Cleveland is on a back-to-back, but that one, that's a nice matchup there for Davis. Compare those two.
It's just like, yeah, it's a nice matchup for Davis, but you have essentially Davis and Harden playing similar minutes. You have Davis with projecting for, around a 31% usage rate compared to 44% for Harden. You have Davis, around an 18% assist percentage and 20% rebounding percentage, whereas Harden is up at, almost a 60% assist percentage. It's basically 1.8 fantasy points for Harden per minute compared to 1.5 or 1.6 for Davis in similar playing time. So to me, it's just as long as we assume that ownership is somewhat close between them, it's not really a tough decision.
Right. So what do you think? It's got to get to around 2-1, just comparing those two against each other?
Probably closer to 3-1.
3-1. Okay. And that's one of those ones where you really want to start to think about it, because there is a chance that Harden goes out, still plays 38, 41 minutes and gets 50 fantasy points. That's not out of the realm of possibility, especially on sites where he can get turnovers and you get negatives for turnovers. On the other hand, Davis could come out and get 7 blocks, 4 steals and have a 20 game there against Cleveland if Cleveland keeps it close, and all of a sudden, you got 20 points on the other guy, and where's the field at? Because that's really going to be the difference point. I don't see getting both these guys on the same teams without going with an extreme stars and scrubs build, and that just at this point does not seem pertinent with people jumping out at that low end that can help us out. Back to the 2-guard here, just kind of picking a few guys in the middle. We've got Bogdanovic going against Golden State. He's at 5,600 there on DraftKings. Intriguing price point. And then I never know what to do with him. Malcolm Brogdon. His usage is coming up. His shooting is getting better. Milwaukee's on a back-to-back, but they are hosting Toronto. Those would be the 2 guys that respectively at 5,600 and 5,500 that make my initial cut. But I always sort of lean towards Bogdanovic, even though he's coming off the bench.
Yeah, he's playing around 30 minutes a night. He's productive in a variety of ways. He rebounds, he picks up assists, and he can score a bit. So I'm with you. I like Bogdanovic. I love the pace of this game. And, coming off the bench at times can keep ownership down a little bit as well.
Yep, and also can help out with the old usage. I think that's going to get us through here on the shooting guard. Let's check over on small forward. Reminder, you get the DFS NBA strategy show Saturdays. That'll be around 11 o'clock. Adam and I will go game by game through all of these. A nice leisurely pace. We'll spend about an hour and a half doing so. We will cover all the various bases. And these are good shows to listen to. We've started putting them on podcast as well. They're fun to listen to throughout the day because you pick up a lot of live analysis, strategy, what we're looking for, and you can find things that you can file away for future days or similar types of matchups for these players. And it's something that I've found fun to have on, as I'm out running errands or on my commute. So just wanted to put that out there. At small forward here, we've got some nice options at the top. You've got Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, Kawhi Leonard. That's kind of the top end price tier. Amongst that quartet, do you think many will make your short list, especially when you're going to be spending on Harden?
Probably not, just because I expect Harden will be a priority. But out of that group, I think Durant is the one that really stands out. $9,400 in that really appealing game against Sacramento. He obviously can go out there and give you, 60-plus fantasy points. And as long as Harden doesn't, give you 90 or give your opponents 90, you're in, a perfectly fine spot. So Durant, I think, is the most appealing there. Ben Simmons would be second for me, especially if Butler sits. But I think that most likely I end up looking to save a little bit of money here.
All right. Would the savings include someone, say, like a Al-Farouq Aminu at $5K? Rudy Gay's down to $5,500. Hey, Rudy Gay gets back-to-back against former teams. You got Toronto the other night, and he's got Memphis on Saturday. How about those guys? Maybe drop in Nemanja Bjelica?
Yeah, Bjelica is my favorite there. Still Marvin Bagley's questionable. So this is if Bagley is out. If Bagley's in, Bjelica goes back to being a very unappealing play because, assuming Bagley's going to start taking his minutes again. But if Bagley's out and you can project Bjelica for, 28 to 30 minutes, the price tag's just still too cheap for the production that you should get from him. So he'd be my favorite guy there. Harrison Barnes at 5,300 is fine. It's nothing you're going to get too excited about, but, I think it's perfectly fine if you need to save the money there. In the mid-range, you can also look to, like a Luka Doncic against Philadelphia. I think is a good spot.
All right. Just checking out one Mo Harkless. I'll look into that a little bit more, but we're not going to waste any time on him. Moving on over here to power forward. Again, at the top, we sort of hit on Anthony Davis, but now coming into play of those that are power forward center eligible, we have Blake Griffin, Julius Randle, LaMarcus Aldridge, Draymond Green, Jaren Jackson Jr. Amongst these guys, we're probably looking for a little bit of savings here. I could see with Griffin at 8,400, he could make some lineups with Harden. I think it'd be harder to get in, almost impossible to get in Davis and have a good lineup. Julius Randle at 8,200, also in play. Amongst Randle and Griffin, since I think that's where more of our decision points are going to be, do you like one more strongly than the other?
Yeah, I kind of always lean Randle there. I just think that he's a little bit more productive. But no real issue with either one. I think the matchup's a little bit better. I mean, it's obviously a better matchup for Randle against Cleveland. Cleveland does play at a really slow pace, so that's not great. But I think between the two of them, I'd rather get to Randle, especially where he's a little bit cheaper.
All right, and I just looked it up. This has already been confirmed. Nikolai Mirotic will not play on Saturday. He has been out for almost a full month now. So just remember that when he comes back, these guys have been priced for him not playing for quite some time. Let me see here. Derrick Favors against Detroit. Adam Favors has popped up on a few of the lineups I've been checking out. And now his game logs, of course, won't load. A few of the lineups I've been checking out in some of the tournaments, and I have not been expecting to see him. So in his last two games, he's put up 35 DraftKings points in 27 and 25 minutes. Those were against teams that did have a larger front court, which was the Knicks and at Toronto. We're seeing a similar type matchup here for him going against Detroit. Is he someone that we should at least give a longer look to?
I didn't catch who you said.
Derrick Favors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just tough because he's most likely still going to play 24 to 26 minutes in most games. The price tag just isn't quite cheap enough. He's okay, but it's just tough to really see a lot of upside for him when he's playing 24 to 26 minutes.
All right. Favorable. My only thought was potentially he gets 3 to 4 more minutes going against a bigger front court, but that is a additional risk that we'll have to look into a little further.
I'm just not sure that would be the case because they could, in theory, they could actually give more minutes to Tabo here at the 4 for defensive reasons. So I'm not really sure that, playing against this front court leads to more minutes for Favors.
Oh my gosh, there's a name I have not thought about in quite some time. Let's see. Cephalosha has played 10, 20, 18, 8, 14, 10 in his last few games. I don't think we'll be looking for him as a player, but good to know if minutes are siphoned that way that definitely will impact some of the other front court options there. Moving on to the center position as we close out our fun day. Reminder, you can use the promo code EarlyBird and get 1 free week of any Awesemo premium content package. Go to awesemo.com, go up in the upper right, click the Join tab, choose a package, make sure you get one with the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, and that will be yours for 1 full week. Enter in your information. The last field will ask for your promotion code. Please use EarlyBird, all one word, and that will defer your billing for 1 week. You can cancel anytime into that first week, still get that first week, and not have to worry about a gotcha bill, because we are not like that. So calling that out up front. Joel Embiid. Let's start there. He's going against Dallas. That will be a matchup against DeAndre Jordan. I feel a little bit sorry for DeAndre Jordan. What do you got for us with Embiid?
If Butler's out, then Embiid, obviously becomes an even better play. And that would actually start to put it into a situation where, maybe you can think about going, saving almost $2,000 between Harden and Embiid as far as upside goes. If Butler's in, it makes enough of a difference where while I would still really like Embiid, I'm pretty confident I'd prefer Harden. But, if you're going to get like a 36% usage rate from Joel Embiid without Butler, then it's really, really difficult not to prioritize him.
All right, I'm looking at our next guy. This would be Andre Drummond. Now, in January 24th of 2018, he played 39 minutes against Utah. He had 30 points, 24 boards, 6 blocks on his way to what was probably a career high. Just scanning, it looks like it might be 83 fantasy points. Adam, that seems like a monster of a game. We have to call that out because he is, after all, Andre Drummond. I'm just calling up the game log for that to see, yes, Rudy Gobert, in fact, did play in that game. Rudy Gobert played 38 minutes. So he matched Drummond for the majority, most likely for the majority of the minutes, because Drummond played 39. Yes, it's a little bit of game log watching, but it gets us our segue there, and it sets up on Andre Drummond for you. What do you got?
Yeah, I think that Drummond's price tag at $7,900 on DraftKings, it's not an appealing matchup by any stretch against Utah. But when you just start talking about pure upside, it's worth considering because, you have him at basically the same prices as Jusuf Nurkic, who I really like, a little bit more expensive than Gobert, who I also like. It's a deep center position, but they're all kind of priced the same. And I would imagine that Drummond comes in with lower ownership than those guys. So it'll be a spot that I really just want to pay attention to because they all have very, very similar ceilings. And if you're going to get something so I think Capella is my favorite play out of the group. But if he's going to be the highest owned there, then there's probably an edge in tournaments to just going to the lower owned guys and, hoping that they outproduce them in this particular game.
Right. Now, just for full fair disclosure, the other game in Utah, he ended up with 5 fouls that would be Drummond. So he only played 24 minutes, still put up 31. DK points, had a 13 and 11, no blocks. So he did get a double-double. But that is the downside, of course. But, hey, we have seen the upside. In the one where he had 80 fantasy points in the 39 minutes, he had 4 fouls, but a 30% usage rate. So pretty exciting. Looking at another guy that's getting a matchup that he has seen before, Jusuf Nurkic, going against Houston. You kind of mentioned Capella. Nurkic in the 2 games this season's averaging 39 DraftKings points. He tends to hit close to 40 when he plays them on average over the last 2 seasons combined. Are you still picking Capella over Nurkic? Because this is tough. I know Nurkic is your guy, Adam.
Yeah, just because I expect more minutes from Capella. You're seeing him play 36-plus minutes most nights. Nurkic kind of capped in that 32-minute range and sometimes a little bit lower. So, now that they're at the same price point, they're both very productive players on a per-minute basis, but I give the edge to Capella.
And I'm just checking here. Capella, let's see, last time they played, he had 28 fantasy points in 27 minutes. Time before that, 38 fantasy points in 30 minutes. That was the 2 prior meetings this season. And then last season, looks like he was averaging right around 30 in 3 of the 4 games. So not too shabby. But Capella is playing not entirely different this season, but he has taken that next step, as it seems Nurkic has as well. So that will be a fun one to stay up and watch as the hammer. Anything else here at the center position, or shall we save that for tomorrow's show and the deep dive article that you will be writing, which is behind the premium paywall?
I'll throw DeAndre Jordan's name out there just because he's 5,900 against Philadelphia. I'm not a huge DeAndre Jordan in DFS fan, especially in tournaments, because he's just not that volatile of a player, and normally you don't get that high of an upside. But when his price tag's down this low, I think that it really has to be something that you strongly consider.
All right. With that, gamers, we're going to get on out of here. Again, this was your First Look podcast. You can get a game-by-game, in-depth, detailed breakdown on the Awesemo.com YouTube channel. That will start around 11 o'clock on Saturday, and then we'll also get that turned into a podcast for those of you that are out and about doing errands and working in the yard. You can find Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMACDFS. And, of course, it is Awesemo_COM over on the Twitter machine. With that, gamers, good luck.